You bring up a small mistake. You're not looking for a fight. It's something simple, a missed task, a forgotten promise. You expect a quick explanation, maybe even a quiet, sorry. But before you can finish your sentence, the tone changes. The other person interrupts, their voice sharpens, and suddenly the conversation is no longer about what just happened. Within seconds, something shifts. They bring up something you did weeks ago, then something else. The focus moves away from the present moment, and you find yourself defending things you didn't come there to discuss. What started as a small correction turns into a conflict that feels far larger than the situation itself. This is the part that confuses most people. The reaction feels disproportionate. It doesn't match the size of the mistake. But the shift is not random. It follows a very specific internal process that happens faster than we usually realize. Welcome to Mini Mind Hack. By the end of this video, you'll understand why the brain can interpret a simple correction as a threat, why admitting a mistake can feel like losing part of your identity, and why, in many situations, attacking back feels easier than saying, "I was wrong." Most of us assume that when someone refuses to apologize, they are being arrogant or stubborn. But what you are often seeing is not confidence. It's a defense response. The reaction is not aimed at you as a person. It is aimed at something happening inside them. When a mistake is pointed out, the brain doesn't just process the information itself. It compares it to something deeper, the internal image a person holds about who they are. Ideas like, "I am responsible," "I am competent," or "I don't make careless mistakes" are not just thoughts. They are part of how a person maintains stability in their sense of self. In the 1950s, social psychologist Leon Festinger, working at Stanford University, described this tension as cognitive dissonance. He showed that when our behavior contradicts our beliefs about ourselves, the brain experiences a form of psychological discomfort that people are strongly motivated to resolve. This discomfort is not abstract. It feels immediate and personal. It creates a split. One part of you recognizes the mistake, while another part resists accepting what that mistake implies about you. And the brain does not like that split to remain unresolved. To reduce this tension, the brain moves quickly, not carefully, not analytically, but efficiently. It looks for the fastest way to restore consistency. That can happen in two ways: by adjusting behavior and admitting the mistake, or by adjusting the interpretation of the situation so that the mistake no longer feels like one. This is where the shift happens. If admitting the mistake feels too threatening, the brain begins to reframe the situation. The focus moves outward. The other person becomes the source of the problem. The conversation is no longer about what happened, but about why the criticism itself is unfair. Psychologists Tavris and Elliot Aronson, who studied self-justification in depth, describe how people gradually reconstruct their own narrative in these moments. Each defensive reaction reinforces a new version of events, one in which their actions make sense and their identity remains intact. Over time, this process can become automatic. The person is no longer consciously choosing to defend themselves. The defense becomes the default response. And because the narrative has been internally adjusted, the anger they express often feels completely justified from their perspective. In the modern world, this reaction is amplified by the environment we live in. Mistakes are no longer private. They can be captured, shared, and revisited. A small error can feel like something permanent, something that defines how others see you. This increases the perceived cost of being wrong. When the cost feels higher, the defense becomes stronger. The brain reacts faster and with more intensity, not because the situation is more serious, but because the perceived threat to identity is greater. What looks like overreaction from the outside is often an attempt to contain that perceived risk. Over time, this pattern affects relationships in subtle ways. When protecting one's self-image becomes more important than maintaining connection, trust begins to weaken. Conversations become less open, and small issues become harder to resolve because each one carries the risk of triggering that defensive response. The next time you find yourself in a situation where a simple apology turns into an argument, it helps to look at it differently. Instead of focusing only on the words being said, it can be useful to notice what is being protected underneath them. The reaction is often less about the moment itself and more about preserving a stable sense of self. Thank you for watching. If this helped you see a difficult interaction in a new light, feel free to subscribe to Mini Mind Hack or share your experience in the comments. If you'd like to explore the research further, the full list of literature and sources is available in the video description and the pinned comment below. Take care. See you next time.